All right. This is episode 5 of Life Talks with myself, Michael Bacchioni. Tonight I got my guest here, Jim Merideth, out in Montana. What's up, Jim?
How's it going?
It's going. We met on World of Warcraft. And why don't you tell me a little bit about, I guess, your vibe right now? I mean, do you adhere to the mainstream media? Do you label yourself a conspiracy theorist? What are your thoughts right now?
Well, what they like to call is conspiracy theorists. I like to call truth seekers. We've had this talk about this numerous times, but so yeah, if they want to put that label out there, yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Well
I
said.
I, I believe in a lot of things are not right, and a lot of things have been coming to light over the past year. So, and my vibes right now, I won't lie. Earlier this morning, watching the inauguration this afternoon. Well, it was morning for me, afternoon on the East Coast, but I was bad vibes, pretty
Yeah.
down in the dumps. Um, but now that I'm seeing more stuff coming out, reading into some things, I sent you I sent you something on was that Signal, a
Mm.
deal I came across, and I hope that to be true. I feel that got my vibes back up. Was
Yeah, I
watching.
like to look at myself as a conspiracy analyst, because I think there are conspiracy theories, right? Like we can
Yep.
say that is the moon made of cheese? It's probably not made of cheese, but um, was JFK, was there one shooter? I don't think so. And I don't
No.
think I'm crazy for thinking that. So I don't believe in the magic bullet theory. And I think that I think conspiracy theory is just labeling someone a critical thinker as, like you said, truth seeker. And what's hard is for one person to know the truth, right? It's hard for, I mean, I can see what's in my vision, right? Like that's it. I can go by what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking. And quite frankly, I don't just believe the mainstream media because they tell me to believe something. But I think it's also wise to not just say, well, anything the mainstream media says is BS too, because I think there's good people out there and there's people who lie. And I was just actually thinking tonight, I was talking with my girlfriend about how, you know, we watch movies, right? And what makes a good actor is someone who is really they're faking authenticity, right?
Yeah.
They're you A good movie gets you drawn into it. You don't even know they're acting, right? If you have even the thought that like, oh, they're a bad actor, it's kind of fake, they're not a good actor. So what's to say that politicians can't do the same thing on a certain level? We're all actors, right? We can all fool people. We're good at, if you're good at lying, you can make people think that you're telling the truth. And to the extent that people are, they don't have the truth in themselves, they can be fooled by it, right? And our culture, I think, is somewhat symptomatic of it. For example, when people say I love you, right? Someone can say I love you all the time, but the divorce rate is over 50%, right? So clearly there's a lot of good actors out there. There's this, it's like Hollywood love kind of. So I'm definitely with you on that. um there are conspiracy theories and there's truth. So, and it's up to all of us to kind of figure out what that is. um But it's kind of interesting how we met. We met on a video game. We played World of Warcraft and we stayed in touch. And, it's definitely the digital world that we have now. Um, but we're
So
all a piece of the puzzle. But no,
we
go.
are. So real quick, I came across something on Facebook. I believe it was Facebook. What year were you born?
89.
89. Same here. So we're in that perfect spot. It was funny. We're in the middle of two generations. You got the old school generation, hard work, um, all that, and then you've got the work hard, play hard type of deal, and then you got the generation of work smarter, with technology and everything. They were born into the technology. This group, and then we're right in the middle. We witnessed the rise of technology
Yeah.
and everything else. So, and it was funny. They said that we're the perfect generation to lead a country because we see it from their side. We were raised, go to work, support your family, be honest, be truth. But then on the other hand, we watch technology come out, and let's work smarter. Let's use these technologies to benefit us. And then you've got the generation before where it's, oh, just let technology do it. Just be consumed,
Yeah.
be consumed, to where
Yeah, and I can relate to both, right? Instant gratification, right? It's like you
right?
press a button, and I mean, I was driving Uber for months, and it was like, it's like that idea still fascinates me. I can press a button on my phone, and it's like I can get pizza, or I can get a car showing up, or Amazon 2-day delivery, and it's like, eh, yeah, I definitely agree that we're definitely in between that, because I also appreciate those who work hard, right?
Yeah,
But there's also, I think, a thing too. It's like whoever works harder is not the better person. There's almost like a competition of, oh, I work 40 hours, I work 50 hours, I work 60 hours, and it's like, all right, what, are you competing that you're a better slave? Like, so now it's not to say that working overtime is not an um, admirable trait. In fact, if anything, in my life, I should be working more, and that's what inspired me to get into this, is because this is what I'm passionate about. But what I am saying is that it's not whoever works more hours is better. It's, to your point, it's it's flowing, right? Like some days you're going to work hard and others you're going to relax, and being in that middle ground too, and definitely not letting technology can free us, but we're actually working overtime, working more, rather than, as I spoke about in another video, I keep bringing this up, is Genesis, knowing our Genesis point. Why are we here? What are we here to contribute? And is it just a paycheck? Because if it is, then we're all slaves. If
yep,
that's the only reason we're going to work is for a paycheck, and as I've said before, it's not just the paycheck, right? Like we have families to feed. We all have it's not a judgment. This is not me judging people, because I have more respect for the man who provides for his family doing something that he hates than I do someone who's wishy-washy, right?
yeah,
So, but it is, we need to have these conversations. These
we
conversations need to be out there. And we did talk about the conspiracy. I think a lot of people don't want to talk about politics, conspiracy theories, but I'm glad we did touch on that, because
yeah,
uh, I don't think it's all black and white. I don't think it's just, oh, there's crazy conspiracy theories, and then there's just believe the mainstream media. The truth is somewhere in between. So, what do
well,
you think about the?
perfect example on that conspiracy theory. Like some of the people we follow, um, they've said, they tell you the truth. The truth is there. They just dress it. It's all dressed, you
Yeah,
know. So I mean, that's the middle. The truth is there, whether it's everything on TV that you watch is true. Yeah, there's some truth in that, to where aliens created us. We weren't created by God. Well, who's to say that that alien isn't God? It
mm,
could be. We don't know. All we know is what's in Scripture and what we're taught at church on who God is.
yeah, and our interpretations of that.
Yeah. So I mean, I've always had an open mind. I'm open to anything. If there's evidence of there, possibly could be true. We don't know. We won't know until the great Lord comes and tells us, "Hey, this is it. This is what it is," and I'm waiting. You know.
Yeah, and I think you've followed, I think, the chat I did with Charlie Ward, and it's interesting to see how like everyone has their own opinion. Oh, he's the bad guy, or everyone wants to judge, because we're in a process right now of trying to figure out who the hell is telling the truth, who's full of shit, who's an insider, who's that. Like, it's so hard to just navigate, and because we've been in this comfort society and kind of all been asleep. But he says one thing that I really think is unarguable, and I keep mentioning it because I really think it's an important thing, is that to get your moral compass right. Right. So how
Yes.
do you know what is the truth and what isn't? By your own truth. And I'm repeating myself, but I really think that's our main problem. And I think religion has tied it in some sense. It's repentance, right? Repentance has gotten a bad rap, at least from my perspective, growing up at church. It's like repentance is, you better be a good boy and you be a good girl. But it's deeper than that. Repentance is the diving into your own ignorance and seeing how that ends up actually going against you. And because it's going against you, it actually puts blinders on you.
Yeah.
There's a Japanese quote, I believe it's Japanese. It's that people have three masks. Let me say. Your character. The Japanese say you have three faces. The first face you show to the world. The second face you show to your close friends and your family. The third face you never show anyone. It is the truest reflection of who you are. And I like that because it's like you're going to be a certain way with me on this podcast. You're going to be another way with your close friends and family. And there's also another side of you that is completely no one has ever seen. And that's the same for me. And it's, I think, not for everyone, because I think some people have overcome those faces and have integrated them into one that you're fresh, right? It's like a kid. A kid doesn't have three faces. A kid is like, it just, a child just says what's on their mind. And that's why they make people laugh. And that's the real humor that I think has been lost with cynicism humor. But it's the same thing that makes a child too. It's like, a dog or a cat. I'd say more so dogs. Cats are. I have two. My girlfriend has two cats, and they know exactly what they're doing. They don't even respond to the names. They run this house.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm ranting a little bit.
Yeah, no. So earlier, what we were talking about, and good life stories. And sorry for the background noise, everybody. I got 3 kids in potty training session right now.
Good.
Little one pooped in the potty. We're
all right. Congrats.
Making progress. We're making progress. So, but no, back on a life story.
It makes me remind me. It's when I was a kid. It's just remember you're a kid, you're yelling for mom and dad.
Yeah.
Mom, Dad.
I'm sitting here.
Like helpless little.
Perfect timing. I'm sitting here doing this. I've been looking forward to doing this with you, and all of a sudden, here he comes. So I had to mute the mic, and I'm going, go see your brother. Go see your brother. Have him help you. I'm in the middle of something, and then Michael, come help him. No response. He comes back, and he's trying to wipe his butt with toilet paper, and I'm going, oh my god. So I'm like, Michael. So, but no, back on a true life story, and my all-time hero, my grandfather. He's taught me a lot of life lessons, and this falls back on that moral compass deal too. My grandfather always taught me, if it feels right and you feel good about it, then it's got to be right. I mean, if it's in here, if this speaks louder than this, you know it to be good. Trust your gut. My mom always taught me that too. Always go with your gut feeling. Never doubt your gut, because your gut will never steer you wrong. And to this day, I use that. My gut has never steered me wrong. My ex-wife, I had a feeling she was cheating. I'll get into a story here. I had a feeling she was cheating on me, and she woke me up. She's never woken up early. She woke up at 6:00 in the morning. Never has done that. I woke up and she's like, "I'm going to get donuts." I'm like, "Okay, going to get donuts for everybody." I looked at the clock, and something told me to look out the window. And I just looked out the window, and she's texting.
Mm-hmm.
So I jotted that time down, and she comes home with donuts like she said she would. And me, who are you texting this morning? And yeah, I was a very insecure person. Sometimes I still am, but
God, I've been there, man. Looking through my ex-girlfriend's phones, 100%, man.
And she's like,
"Well, place to be."
I was texting my mom, and I'm going, "Oh, okay. Well, your mom don't get up that early. I know that for a fact. Mom's never gotten up that early. She's more of a 7:30, 8 o'clock kind of gal." So later that evening, her and my sister go out to go pick up dinner, and I happen to go. I'm like, you know what? Bring it up. So I log on to Verizon. Can't log into my Verizon account. It's under my name. She has changed all the information, got all of it, and I remember the time, looked at the text message, and it wasn't her mom's number. So I call it. Some guy answers it. So right there's a perfect example of always trust your gut. Never, ever doubt your gut. I still believe to this day there are forces, energies in this world that if it feels wrong, it's wrong. And go and investigate. If you want to dive into it and investigate it, just don't be afraid to see the truth. And the truth, I found it out. She was texting a cop, and she was cheating on me and everything else. I mean, it came out in the end, but my gut never steered me wrong on that one. And to this day, ever since that, I've always went with my gut.
I think that's a good point too, because my ex, I was bad, man. I was going through. Got to the point where we were so insecure, and I think there's a difference between insecurity and questioning, right? I think if you ask, like, oh, who are you texting? I don't think that's not necessarily insecure. I think the insecurity comes where you're like almost fearful, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's okay, like, it's if you never asked that question, you would have never found out,
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're like going through every text message, and that's a different thing, right? So, but yeah, and to add to that, you had said, because I've heard trust your heart, I've heard trust your gut, trust yourself. Right? I've heard like different variations of this, and I've mentioned before, it's like church, pressure your head, your lips, and your heart. I think when you're thinking and your feelings are in unison and you're speaking how you're feeling and thinking, and you
Hmm.
learn, and I think we can learn from women. So women, I believe, are different than men. That's my view.
Oh, most definitely.
So, and that we can learn from each other and appreciate the feminine and appreciate the masculine. And that when we do that, we can trust our gut as well. I think gut is better because the heart, I think, is also the Bible's mentioned that the heart is wicked, and I'm not a Bible thumper. Based on our conversations, I don't think you would say I'm a Bible thumper, but I definitely don't just ignore religion because it's religion, or I don't just ignore the atheist because he's atheist. I think we can all learn from everyone. But in the Bible, I don't know the exact quote, but it's like the heart is wicked. And I played with that. I'm like, I've always heard the heart is the thing that you should listen to. It's your emotional center. Like trust your heart over like what you had said, the thinking mind. And I think that I get it now. Is that the heart is emotional, right? We can get pulled into the emotions, and emotions aren't a bad thing. But when we're just operating on heart, we could just like we're just following our emotion, and it's like it's almost chaotic. And if we're just thinking, we're it's a box world, right? Everything's analytical, everything's statistic, and when those two are integrated, then that's almost like that's your center. Like
Yep.
you're not being a fool. You're not just saying I'm not thinking at all, but you're not just being blinded by emotions. But when they're integrated, that is when your gut. That's where the gut really comes in, I
Yep.
think. But I mean, I'm a deep thinker, so it's not the I think that's what your grandfather is talking about is the same thing. It's just I want to articulate truth more so because I've
Yeah.
heard so many cliches in my own life of trust yourself, trust your heart, and I've listened to it, and now it's like I've dissected it because I've trusted my heart, I've trusted my mind, I've trusted what I think is my gut, and it's I think that's just a distinction that I think would be helpful for you, for me to articulate it better, and people who are watching.
Yeah. And
Um,
another famous phrase he used to tell me was, no matter whatever job you go out and get, no matter what you're doing in life, um, learn everything, suck that knowledge, take it in. And I use that on everything. I've combined taking and picking and watching people. Um, maybe this is why I got so good at WoW, because I can direct on one thing and then just widen my view. I could see the whole picture. Um, but you know, be observant, because there's one thing nobody can ever take from you, and that's knowledge. If you learn it and you keep it, it's yours. They can't. They can take your job away. They can take your house. They can take your money. They can't take your knowledge. And I feel like that plays into a part of what we're dealing with today. Everybody's freaking out about politics and the country and the world in itself, and on that conspiracy theory of these people running the government and everybody else. They run the world. I mean, they've got the
correct.
money, they've
Yeah.
got the land, they've got everything. What don't they have?
Yeah. It's not
They,
about Trump versus Biden. There's a lot of other. It's about
yeah,
financial corporate interests that are behind the scenes, and
yeah,
I don't believe somebody just because you know, they play the like as we were talking about before. They play the role of the hero. Just
yep,
I'm not going to fall in love with a politician's words. I've done that most of my life. Oh, this is a good politician. That's a bad politician.
yeah,
And we get the country we deserve. So it's not even to put more blame on the politicians. It's to put blame to we need to look at the mirror. And we're all pieces to this puzzle. I really do believe that. It's
we
something else
are.
Charlie Ward had said. Is that I'm just Michael, you're just Jim, he's just Charlie. we need to communicate with each other. And we've also spoken a lot, Jim, about vibrations, man. They're so
Oh, and you can
important.
feel them.
Mm.
I mean, you can feel them. I mean, it doesn't matter when they announced after the riot on the Capitol, and they announced they're going to impeach Trump for it. He incited it.
Mm.
Man, the vibrations I felt were, man, those guys are just going to dig. There ain't no way it's going to happen. The vibrations in the atmosphere, and just throughout the whole course of this whole thing, you could feel them. If you clear your mind of everything, just throw everything that you see in a day out the window. Just clear your mind. You're yourself. And the best way to do that is just sit in a bathroom, look in the mirror, block everything out, put some music in, high vibration, good vibe music.
Mhm.
Michael Jackson's a good one. I love
He's got
Michael.
some good stuff. I've been listening to 60s, 70s, and 80s music,
Oh
man.
yeah.
It's like just hits different. It
Oh, it
beats
does.
the rap now that's meaningless. Or you walk into a store and it's like corporate soul draining music, or the top 10, what is it now, 5 and now
Yeah.
6 my best hits. There's so not it's not the same, man. And
No,
I
it's not.
appreciate that older music.
Queen's another one. I love Queen, man. And it's not so much the lyrics; it's the beat, which in turn, what is sound? Sound is a vibration,
Hmm.
and it will lift you up. And again, there one thing that I don't know if it was Charlie Ward that brought it up, but it's one of his guests, and they talked about vibrations. And if you just clear your mind, get in the zone, focus on yourself, just look at yourself for once, and you'll feel it. You'll feel the vibrations in the air, just like right now. I mean, it's little tingly feelings. I got it
Hmm.
here. I got it
I get
here.
goosebumps over here
Yeah,
when I'm yeah.
and you'll feel it, and you'll know when it's a good vibe, and you know when it's a bad
And
vibe.
as you feed that, you stay in that state. I mean, that's the
You do.
crazy part. I mean, at the beginning of all this, I went full conspiracy theory. I mean, in March, I was like, no way. 15 days to slow the spread. I don't buy that at all. And then I was talking to all my friends and my family, and I was just like, they're all trying to take over the world. And the truth is, now as I come to see it, they are.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I mean, that's how it, it's not my place to convince everybody. My place is to stay calm, stay cool, collected, and not freak out, but to just be open to the truth. That we've been lied to about a lot of things over decades, and it's hard to know. Not one person is going to know. If you think one person knows, you're full of it.
Yeah.
You have to
No.
listen to both sides. You have to engage yourself in arguments, and that's why I've invited my last guest that I have on here. I love him, man, David Smiley. We were I personal trained with him, and we have our disagreements, and I still see stuff that he posts, and I'm sure he's going to see stuff that I post, and he's going to be like, all right, like it. But at the end of the day, we ended our conversation that if there's someone who's drowning, right, it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, we're going to save that person.
Yeah.
And, vibrations are what it's all about, man. When I was watching Trump rallies, right, I'm, we're both Trump supporters, and I want to exude to people that if you're a Trump supporter, doesn't mean you want to go around in America and go around and beat everybody up who's a Democrat. That's not my vibe at all. My vibe, I've watched all Trump, not all of them, but a lot of Trump's rallies. Good vibrations, good things that he's saying. And yeah, of course, he says some outlandish shit sometimes, but it's, to me, it's refreshing that it's not it's not a politician. It's not like, I don't want to hear a politician who's saying everything, reading off a teleprompter, and it's robotic and it sounds nice, right? I want to hear the guy who's like, all right, what is he really thinking, and what is he doing, uh and it's not to say that I'm not also a Trump worshiper either.
No.
I'm not like, if hail Trump, I'm not that guy either. But I listening to vibes. It's like all these people going to his rallies. I don't get that vibe that they all want to go storm the Capitol. But at the same time, those people that did that, the people who stormed the Capitol, should be held accountable individually, right? Like we were saying at the beginning, everyone wears a mask. We don't know. It's so hard to say exactly what's going on, right? We're getting the media narrative, and it's not to say all those guys were Antifa. Who knows? Like I think it's as we let's shift more into those vibrations, right? It's like we're all want to blame somebody. We all think we have it all figured out. Let's take a step back. raise the vibes here. Understand that just because someone disagrees you politically doesn't mean that that they're all terrorists, right? This idea needs to stop. That
Yeah.
whatever happens is going to happen. I'm not going to push my will on it, but I don't think just because I disagree with someone politically that they want to destroy the world, right? So I think there's low vibrational people and there's people who are high vibrational. There's vampire people, right? And I've been a vampire. We've all been somewhat vampires on a certain level in the sense that we all feed off energy, right? We want to be
Oh, yeah.
around somebody who gives us energy, right? But the problem becomes, well, we're not giving back that energy to people, right? That it's just like, for me, for example, God, I've watched so many hours of YouTube of like Jordan Peterson and like different philosophers, and I've just absorbed it. I'm just absorbing all of, and I'm not putting out like the different connections that I've made in my own life from learning from all these people. And it's like I have so much to give to people now. It's like I've shut my mouth for so long that it's like enough of this shit. I want to give, I want to inspire you, Jim. I want you to inspire me. I want to do that with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And it's like, all right, people who are huge Trump fans, it's not about Trump. Trump, if Trump, for me, if Trump stood for anything, it's to follow your convictions. It's to be faithful. It's to be peaceful. It's not to go out and hurt other people. And people are going to listen to that who are anti, be like, what? That's not what I heard. Because the media told you what to think. The media told you that he was a racist person, but you're not going to see the video on YouTube that how he denounces white supremacy. And then we could just go right back into the beginning conversation where it's like, well, just because he says he denounces it doesn't mean it. And it just goes right back. Now are we trying to destroy someone or are we going to try to build? So I don't want to focus on, was Trump good? Was Trump bad? Was Biden good? Is he bad? I want to say, what can I do? How can I help my local environment? How can I, what can I do? Because that empowers people. Like JFK said, it's like, ask not what your country could do for you. I don't want a stimulus check. Or if I do, like help people who need it, sure. But like, let's get people to work. Because otherwise we're just going to have a government that we're all going to be feeding off of. I mean, that essentially that's what jail is. You get three meals a day. And it's not to say that there shouldn't be programs in place. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to come collectively together to find that middle ground. And just depending on the government, well, we're just going to get a paycheck for the rest of our life. Well, if they're going to give us a paycheck, they can also decide what we're going to do, what our rules are, how far you can go, how much you have to social distance. And I don't want to be a part of that world. I want to be a part of the world where I inspire, where I encourage people to, not be locked down by somebody else, be told what to do. So my 2 cents. I don't want to take over too much. Let you.
Oh yeah, no, it's America was a vision, land of freedom. Fulfill your dreams. That's why we had a lot of people come in the early days. In fact, if you want to get talk about slavery, first correct me if I'm wrong, the first set of slaves, they weren't African American, they were Irish. They're Irish slaves.
I'm not a good history buff.
It's
I hear one person like there's the people's history of the United States, and then I've just heard there's a book called The Patriots History of the United States, and it's like history is written by the victors. So it's like I listen to everyone on their view on history, but all I can go on is what I see in my life, and what's written in a book is it's almost kind of bullshit. But I agree with your point, right? I think people have been slaves, right? I think white people have been slaves. I think black people have been slaves.
Oh, they all have.
In our culture, it seems that the lens is, more African American. So
at one point in life, and even now you're living in it, guys. I mean, right now everybody's a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's working, you're a slave to the system. You work, you're being taxed. That money that you pay into the government is being used for somebody else. Somebody else is getting that money.
The pillar of the Communist Manifesto is the central banking system. So we don't get to vote on where our money goes. But we vote for electives that represent us. And
and the biggest thing right now is if you just sit there and stop for 1 minute, put your ego aside and think about it. Whatever your dream is, your dream, Mike, is to get this YouTube channel up and going and survive and live off of it. It's your dream because you're good at it. I mean, your articulation is and believe it or not, I'm not smart. I passed high school. I didn't go to
We all
college.
have different things. We learn. We're all
Yeah,
a piece of the puzzle. Mine is articulation and
yeah. But
philosophy and psychology. But yeah,
I've heard the word articulation, but actually to sit down and remember it, I had to go back and look up what that word meant. It's just a fancy word for saying you're good with words, buddy. Your articulation is great. You've got a high vocabulary, and that's awesome. Where me, I like numbers, but I enjoy, my passion's cooking. I love cooking, And again, I still play WoW. I've got a
my grandfather was a chef.
Is that why your Discord channel is the chef, the
It's a
chef?
good.
I love it, but no, I love cooking, so I've got a little channel on my in our guild Discord where I'll prop my phone up and I'll just turn my camera on and I'll just start cooking, and people will join in. Oh, what are you cooking today, Jim? And oh well, cooking buffalo wings, or I'm doing like last week it was or I did my turkey for Thanksgiving. Oh, that turned out great. But I just love cooking and I love playing with flavors, and that my dream is to open up my own restaurant. I don't want to be rich off of it. I just want to provide good food and look at the faces of families. I mean, that's another thing we've lost anymore. Fast food businesses, just in and out, grab it and go.
Yeah.
Man, when I was a kid, man, I went to I would call it a dive. You go into the restaurant, didn't look that great. It wasn't big and fancy. It wasn't a name brand. It was just a mom and pa restaurant. And you sit down with the family, and the food was good, and you had a smile on your face, you know. And yeah, don't get me wrong. My favorite restaurant right now would be Texas Roadhouse. I mean, that's a big name brand. I love steak. God, I love steak. But I mean, it's good vibes, and they've always had good service there. And that's one thing. If you provide the good service and the food's good,
Yeah, I
man,
just went to Chick-fil-A tonight. I love Chick-fil-A, but I walked in there and they pointed a thermometer gun at my head, and I don't think I'm going to be going in there until that gets taken away, because I don't want to be treated like. I mean, and I'm sure there's a lot of people going to disagree with that, but to me, that's inhumane. I mean, I mean, at the
it
very
is.
least, I mean, no, I don't want to. That paradigm doesn't fit for me. It's not to ignore any virus, but I mean, I think that that's not a world I want to live in. I think it's unsocially distancing and uh, checking everyone's temperature. I mean, to me, it just seems very inhumane, and I don't have all the
It's
answers, but I hope to find them as through these conversations. But
to me, it's an invasion of privacy. I mean, and that's the thing is we've gotten so reliant on the government tells us what to do. If y'all read the Constitution, the government don't tell us nothing. They work for us. We vote
the
them in.
government's role
They,
should be to protect our
yeah.
rights.
I mean that's and again it falls back onto what did Trump say? We're going to give power back to the people, and this falls back to what I'm saying. You got a dream. If your dream is sitting on the couch playing video games, yeah, there's a way to make money on that. You get into
Mm-hmm.
Twitch, you get into live streaming, you get good. You got a good show. Before you know it, people start donating $5 here, $10 here. You're good. I love watching you. You know, go for your dream. America is the land of dreams and prosperity. Everything's out there, but you got to be willing to work at it. You got to be willing to get up off your butt, go out there and do it. It's not somebody else's job to take care of you. Quote from the Bible: God helps those who help themselves.
Preach, brother. Preach.
I mean, and that word's been passed around in my shop for the last 6 months. God helps those who help themselves.
That's something that I've really appreciated recently in my life, because you know what? I haven't really worked as much as I can. And the reason why, and I guess it's all connected, right? It's like for me, I was doing Uber. I was working, there was some weeks I was working 50 hours a week, and I would burn myself out, and then just struggling to pay bills. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just working for a paycheck. And then, I was confronted with, oh, well, you can go back to school, you get a degree. And it's like, to me, it was just, I was never that kind of person, just thinking so in a system, right? It's like now you're built into a system, and it's like a come here, little kitty, you're in first grade, and first grade gives you second grade and third and fourth and fifth and sixth. And this thing is coming, and then you get to 12th grade, and now you finish high school, right? And then you're going to go to college, and then college is 4 years, and then you're going to get a job. And then when you get in the job, you're going to get a promotion, and this thing is coming, right? This great thing is coming. And then you end up always having to meet the next quota and the next quota. And then you get to the end and you realize it was the whole thing. The whole thing was a musical note, and we
Yep.
were supposed to dance. And on the other side as well, it's not to say that goal setting isn't important, or that, you show up to a job interview and you don't know why you're there. It's like, oh, I'm just here. I'm in the moment. That's not what I'm saying. I think goals are a good thing. And, meeting a quota at work and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, I'm all for that. I want to surround myself with people who are doing that kind of thing. But if it's always to the future, it's this go, go, go mentality, and you can't be present, truly in the present. I think it was Alan Watts who said those who don't have the capacity to be in the present moment cannot make plans for the future. Because if it's always for the future, it never gets there. It's always, okay, I got it. Now I need the next thing. And it's symptomatic of our relationships too. At least in our younger generation. Oh, Tinder, right? It's like left, right, left, right.
Yeah,
so
Matrix, red pill, blue pill, red pill, blue pill. I mean, and then those who aren't religious, don't believe in God, don't believe in anything. Here's another good one for you. You believe in the science. You believe in what you see physically. On that note too, with we're human, so we are we're an animal of sorts. Okay, and real quick, how do animals survive? They don't survive by sitting down and not doing nothing. No, because they'll die of starvation. Prime example, when I moved up here to Montana, 2010, we had a hell of a winter. Record snowfall. I mean, when I got here, I about 3 to 4 feet of snow. I mean, snow was up to my knees. And it was nothing to drive down the highway and you see antelope belly up. Why? Antelope don't dig in snow. They're lazy eaters. They can't get their food easily. They'll starve themselves to death. And it's another prime example. If you don't believe in, what I said about, God helps those who help themselves, let's just go on nature's side of things and look at it at that perspective of, I've seen a bunch of antelope laying along the highway. Why? I asked, what sick, disease, something? There's always, it's another thing too. They've put in, there's got to be a label for everything. I mean, no, the antelope are lazy. They died of starvation. Why? Because they don't know how to dig through the snow to find their food. So, I mean, there you go, guys. If we didn't have government there to feed those that, don't want to do nothing, who want this, socialist society that they want, how would you survive? Rely on somebody else? You would sit there and die. There's got it, and this is where it's got to meet in the middle. You got everybody on the far right.
Yeah.
Work, pay your taxes, do your fair share. On the left, government pays for. Let's meet in the middle. How about we all just work and work on yourself and your loved ones? Start there. Then you can venture out and go, okay, well, I worked a little bit here, so I'll donate this money here, or on the left of, I'll give this money to big groups of government or whatnot to help those, or on the left, I'm just going to give you half my paycheck to help you out. You'll be fine. I'll take care of you. No, start with yourself and your family, your household. And if you can afford it and you got the energy, you got the time, that's where we spread out, in my opinion. And this, again, is just my opinion. Start with yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too is those who want to help the poor. I think it because that's a big theme, right? Like, who is going to be against helping the poor, right? It's like, here's my view. There's people who are rich, who are greedy, who have worked their way to the top, who are selfish. They don't give a shit. And I do believe that there are those who are rich who really busted their ass, and that, if you work more, you should get more. And there are those who are poor who don't have to be poor. They have no excuse to be poor, that they are victims of their own view. And there are those who are poor who truly do need help. And, that systems in place aren't necessarily all bad. Someone needs help as a society. I think that it's, we should be helping people who truly need help, but who's to say, right? And I think that's where it goes back to the Charlie Ward thing, that we're all a piece of the puzzle, that we have to look after each other. We have to go back to those values of looking after your neighbor, so anyone who's watching this right now, like, check in on your neighbor. The other day I was walking, I was going for a run, and there was this girl and her dog. And I just looked over, I said, cute dog. She said, thanks. It was just a smile. We need to get back into that. we need to just those little things, you know, but our culture is so, it embellishes such unloving behavior, you know, through Hollywood, desensitized through a lot of things. And not to say that don't ever watch a movie again. I mean, for me personally, I've cut out 90% of Netflix. I don't turn on the news. I don't watch Fox News or CNN or all that. I've shut that all. It's all just, I don't want to be in that anymore. I want to be in the solution. I want to, if the only news that I mean, I do watch the news, but it's limited, so limited. At least from the mainstream perspective. I want to hear the other side because I've listened to the mainstream my entire life. And it's like, I remember when my first on this journey, I remember watching CNN back in, I think it was like 2012-ish. I remember I went through a phase where I watched CNN like all day for like a week, 2 weeks. And I didn't want to get up. I just was just like, this whole world is collapsing. And then you start going into conspiracy theories like, wait a second, it's a whole nother world. And then it's like, this world ain't so beautiful after all. And then it's like you get into this fear spiral. And then as you zoom out, it's like, all right, well, it's because I'm tuning into that, as we were saying, the frequency. I really do believe, like even quantum physics, you know, the fact that it basically says that, God, don't quote me, I'm not a big science guy, but I do believe in like the ripple effect. Like something, just having this conversation right now is going to affect something in China, or it's going to affect something in Japan, or anywhere that we're having this communication. Somebody's going to watch it and say, you know what, I never really thought about it like that, you know, because I articulated it different than, and somebody, I connected a piece somewhere. And, you know, when you said, you know, when you were talking, you're talking about your grandfather and like, you know, and then you're talking about cooking and using different flavors. And someone's like, oh, you know what? And just our inspiration for other people, or they're going to watch this and it's going to inspire other people. So, you know, I really, and I emphasize that a lot too, the importance, how everyone is important in the same way that we're all a node in a network, that everything that we do affects everyone else. And it's so much easier to say, well, what can I do? And when you have that mentality, it's like when you try to cheer somebody up, it's not really coming from that center. It's just kind of like, oh, well, best of luck to you, versus really diving in and saying, wow, really everything I do, I say what I believe, you know, not going to go into the vaccine debate, but, you know, right now, even it's like, oh, you're pro-vax or you're anti-vax. It's not like, oh, question it. Maybe let's try to understand both sides, right? That maybe not just because someone is anti something or pro something that they're crazy, right? Like, or, you know, is anyone who's a Democrat is crazy, or anyone who's a Republican is crazy. Isn't it all crazy on a certain level that, like, we're so, it's identity politics BS. Like, I'm on team this, you know? Oh, you're in the gay community. Oh, you're in the LGBT community. Okay. Oh, you're a straighter. Oh, you're a white man. You don't know. Oh, you're black. Oh, okay. It's all dividing us. And like you said earlier, and we all become slaves to it, right? Because we all have our little group identity, and it just ends up splitting more and more and more. And then we think we're all separate, and we're really not, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right? We want to be loved. We want to love ourselves truly. We want to connect with people. We want sex. We want food. We all want the same thing at the core. It's just expressed differently. And it's like you said, as we said, the vibration. When you're in tune with that vibration, that's the universal thing that brings us together. And then it's expressed differently. Just because we're all on the same vibe doesn't mean we're all going to dance the same way, or we're going to like the same foods, or we're going to naturally connect. And if you're low vibration, you're going to connect those kind of people. And I've done that in my life. I've been a low vibrational person probably most of my life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm seeing it now. It's just like listening to like just different music and just taking a step back and appreciate. I've been playing with my dog so much more recently, and just running with him, and, you know, holding my girlfriend more, just telling her, you know, like just giving her a kiss on the cheek and just giving her a hug. And it's just like those little things. And I know it may sound corny to most, because if I played this to myself, if I played this to myself 3 years ago, I'd be like, all right, dude, it sounds like fucking nice hippie shit. Let's, you know, that's cute. Give a hug. All right, whatever. On to the next video game, or, you know, what the hell, you know? So yeah.
Yeah.
Got
No,
vibes to put up.
we do. And you know what, back on that, you know, this video, people watching this video, you heard about the book, The Secret?
Yeah.
Okay. And how, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but The Secret says if you think it, you see it, and you say it, and you keep that every day, the perfect example they said is your dream car. Cut a picture out of it. Have a board. Stick it up there and look at it and go, I'm going to own that car. I'm going to own that car. You see yourself in that car. You say it, you hear it. It's just like with education, the 3 rules. If you read it, you say it, and you hear it, you'll learn it. Spelling. Spell out the word. Let's talk world. WORLD. I seen it, I heard it, and I said it. And I do that 3 times, it'll be in there. Somewhere in there, you'll learn it. Same thing with this, vibrations. Focus on it. If you want it bad enough, that's it. I'm going to go get it. The one guy I work with, said, what's your most desirable thing right now? And he goes, I want to be debt free. I said, okay, what's your amount of debt? Don't tell me, just think it. Write it down on a piece of paper and put it up on the wall. And every morning you wake up, I'm going to wipe that debt clean. I'm going to wipe it clean. And you're going to feel that. You're going to get yourself hyped up. And you keep feeding off of that. And your vibrations get higher and higher and higher.
And there's that thing where as if you already had it.
Yeah.
So and that's like, and I think it says in there too, it's like, if you want a car, go to the dealership and just sit in the car as if you already have it. And that feeling that you get with it, associate that feeling with I believe it's your subconscious. It doesn't even know if it's real or not. Right. So it's like, and for me, I mean, I'm sure my generation is similar. It's porn addiction. Right.
Yeah.
God, first time I saw porn, it was like, whoa, right? It's like, and then you tune into that. And then my brain doesn't even know if that's real or not. My brain, it's like, oh, well, you attracted a positive mate, and it's as if I already had that mate. So you program yourself in the same way. So and it's hard for people to do that, right? Because it's easier to go do that, right? To watch porn than it is to have self-discipline and not do that and keep yourself in check, in the same way that it's self-discipline in the sense that you're not actually, you get in the car and you feel that car versus, watching other people, watching TV or watching Netflix and seeing other people have that perfect car, or fill in the blank, right? And I think the idea of The Secret, I think the key thing, because I remember watching, it's like it really is that feeling. It's that feeling as if you already have it, right? And in the dating world, it's as if you already have like your mate. What it would feel like, what would be the perfect person in your life, and to really think about that and feel as if you already had it, because the truth is that happiness, true love, comes from within. It doesn't come out there. It's not going to come from instant gratification out there. It's not going to come from even the car. I understand your example, but that car is not even going to make you happy. So if you understand that too, it actually makes it even easier. That it's like, oh, cool. If I get the car, it's like, it's not about the car. It's like, I want to enjoy life, right? You can enjoy the fruits of life. You can enjoy a car, as long as that's not the end goal, right? That if that's the thing that you think is going to make you happy, the car, it's not, you're going to be disappointed, because then you're going to want something else. But if you understand that, what is the highest virtue? What is the truest? It's the vibration. It's the feeling of the vibration that is actually making you happy. It's actually not the car. So to get into that feeling, because then it's like you get the car, but if someone comes in and you get into a car accident the next day or something, it's not, the vibe is still there, because it's like it was the journey in the sense,
Yep. No, and on that too, a two-part.
Wait, I don't think. All right, I'm recording here again. I thought I didn't have audio, but I did. So we're going to wrap up our conversation. We were just talking about the Secret, and I think you wanted to talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So again, they're on that with the touching, reaching out and affecting somebody with your videos. It's going to happen. I know it is. I believe it. I can see it. We're going to touch somebody, at least one. And it's going to be a spider web effect. It's going to go out there and it'll happen. If you believe it, I believe it's going to happen, because again, we're you're feeling the vibes. I'm feeling the vibes.
Oh yeah, big time,
And
man.
it's all high vibes. It's good, and that's what this world needs. And if it starts with just one,
The
you know.
power of one. And you know what's interesting about the word one? It has two meanings.
Oh, enlighten me.
One and to win. You won.
Yeah,
So when you're one, you automatically win. That's
yeah,
it's we're missing the obvious, right? It's like a good athlete, you know. Like we
and
say
then
he's the one.
yeah, he is. And on that too, I figured out the second part that my memories. I'm getting old, and dementia runs in my family. I still feel I'm gonna be the one to get it early.
No, you're not because the vibes are gonna save it.
It's gonna save me. But on that too, folks, you know, helping others. It starts with yourself, and if you truly love yourself, you can in turn love others. You can't help anybody if you can't help yourself. So if you're down in the dumps, you won't be that good of a help. It's just like getting up and going to work. If you're sore leg, you're not going to be really good. So maybe you need to tend to that leg, take a day off, or you know, go see. I don't like going to see the doctor. Again, doctors and me, bad vibes. I feel like there's other remedies out there. They weren't there in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and we're
Well, I
still
think it's
here.
like anything else, right? You're gonna have good politicians, you're gonna have bad politicians,
Yeah.
and generally there's majority bad politicians, right? I'm not gonna name names because it's gonna be subjective to everyone. I'd rather just say I feel like most people would agree most politicians are not in our best interest, and
No.
I would also say most of our lives we haven't lived our true best interest. So again, I'd like to take accountability for myself and our own selfish nature. But the other thing is too is the same thing goes for doctors, right? We just think, oh, because doctors are doctors. No, they got a degree, they studied hard. It's not to say that they're good or bad, but the problem is that it's a corrupt system. If you have a corrupt system, it's not even to say corrupt. I don't even think that's a good thing. It's the right terminology. It's like it's similar to like what we were saying before, the left and the right? I would say like the far right of doctors, right, are the ones who go completely by the book, right?
Yeah.
These are the ones who are, yeah, and it's not to say that it's wrong, right? It's to say that they're going completely by the book. And but there's a fallacy in that, in the same way it's like if you just listen to the herb guy, right, who's like, oh, natural medicine is the key, just drink tea and water every day and you're going to be safe, and eat a banana. But they both have a piece, and we've been blinded by this idea of authority. It has the answer, right? Because I have a degree, I know I have the knowledge.
Yeah.
I have the answers versus you have some answers, and we should respect authority to a certain extent. But blind obedience to authority is this one of the problems that got us into this in the first place. Just blind obedience to a cop. I don't just I want to follow a law that I believe in. Now, if there was a law that was made tomorrow that says, I don't know, every day you have to fill in the blank, right? Something that just is inhumane
Off
or
the wall.
something.
Yeah.
You have to wake up every day and you have to punch somebody just because, whatever. I don't just follow that law because I believe in it, but I follow it because I don't follow the law just because I'm told to do it. I follow the law because I believe in the integrity of the law.
Yeah. And that there's just common sense, and that plays a big part in everything. Every little thing you've learned, again, on that education. I've seen some very intelligent people, book smart, know the ins and outs, but common sense,
Mm.
just, you got to
Street
have,
smart. You need book smart and street smart,
yeah,
man.
you got a balance. And, that's where I always fall back to reference with Star Wars and that is that series of movies, the TV shows, all as a whole, and they talk about the balance in the Force.
Mm.
You can't have good if you don't have bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. That's why with the
And
one.
Charlie Ward spoke on that too, where he said, you have to dance with bad a little bit in your life, right? It's
Yeah,
like, and
don't
we all
don't get
experience.
don't get evil.
Don't
You
get
can't
to
get
the evil,
bad.
yeah. And the evil, there's that line. And
No, I'm not saying okay. You You got to have good and bad. So, okay, I'm going to go and steal this piece of candy.
Correct.
But then I'm going to go over here and take that stolen piece of candy and give it to this kid because he looks down in the dumps. No, I'm not saying that.
It's like a good parent. It says, listen, it's you have to live your life and do whatever you want. You know, I'll be there for you no matter what. You're gonna have to make your own mistakes.
Yep.
There's a freedom, but you know, you still can have discipline with that. I think that's where the father is the disciplinarian, and the mother has that nurturing nature. And
yes,
it's the feminine nature is a nurturer. You know, it's like me trying to explain to a woman how to what to expect when pregnant. I'm not going to write that book because it can't have that experience, right? So,
but no, again, folks, it's have a balance. First off, start with yourself. Love yourself first, you know, and then in turn you can help and love others. You know, starts with yourself. But and then on that too with the balance thing. Again, perfect example with what the one addiction, we won't talk about it, but the addiction that you have or had, I don't know if you still have it or not, but the one that you told me.
I'm good now, man.
Yeah.
Porn addiction. Ever since I was 13, once I saw a pair of tits, I was hooked.
Yeah. And again, you know, like I told you, well, figure it out. You know, you don't have to quit it. You know, I've got an addiction too, folks. I've got a couple addictions. You know, I still play WoW. I love my game. I mean, I chew. I love my beer. But in a sense, to me, this, in my mind, I'm only harming myself. Where smoking, you know, I used to smoke, that harmed me and others around me. Where this, you know, here, I do it in moderate. I sit in my home. I'm in my chair, sitting here BS with a buddy and having a beer. I'm not hurting nobody, you know. And again, some say this is bad. I mean, these are both bad. But at the end of the day, I still do it.
Yeah.
Should I quit? Yeah, I should. But you know what? If I quit cold turkey, I'm going to lose my mind. And then and you gotta have that balance.
100%. There's a good movie called Peaceful Warrior. I'd invite everybody to watch it. If you resonate with this conversation, you're gonna love this movie. And a friend of mine has actually said that the book is even better. The book doesn't even do justice to the movie. The movie doesn't do justice for the book. But it basically, what it does in that movie is that it teaches that it's not the vices that are the problem, right? It's not the video games or even porn or even tobacco or alcohol. The problem becomes when it's subconsciously you're seeking to love yourself and you're seeking it through, there's unresolved pain, which we all have, even if people think that they don't. If you think that you have no pain at all, that there's nothing hidden, you probably are someone who has the pain. And I would argue that more people who, it's almost like the guy who says, "Oh no, I know everything." That's the guy who you want to watch out for. It's the guy who says, "You know what? I really don't know everything," which actually is like there's more power in those words. You're more likely to listen to somebody who says that I don't know everything. But the person who is so arrogantly, I know everything, there's no space there. So the reason I bring that up is that, because I've played with the idea of like, we're sinners, right? Or the idea like in AA, they talk about, you say your name and then you say, I'm an alcoholic, or, this idea that I see the victim in me. Now, if you live there, and this is the problem I think that the institution of the church has trouble with, or at least people have the perception of it, like, oh, I'm a sinner. What does that mean? So it means that you're missing the point. It means that you're not a victim. It means that there's a victim, there's an illusion of victim, right? There is that when you identify the victim that's within, you can overcome the victim. That's where the hero can come in. But if you think that that you have, that you are imperfect, or if you think that you are perfect, you actually cannot become the perfect version of yourself. So by identifying, hey, you know what? I drink or I do these things. First, I can identify them. And then I think there's a power in discipline. Now you say cold turkey. I think everyone has to do it differently, but cutting out bad habits, it's a process. And when you cut them out first, when you can be in that state of like, your body's going to want it, right? Because we're half animal, we're half spirit, right? These vibrations we talk about, that's not something that's going to come from the animal. It's going to come from our communication with each other. It's going to come from hugging each other. That's not going to come from any little thing that, you know, whatever it may be, instant gratification in all sorts of forms. But we can indulge, like you can have a piece of chocolate when you don't eat that chocolate. If you go for a long run and really push yourself and do something that you don't want to do, that glass of water tastes a lot better, you know, versus you're just, oh, I'm hydrating all day. Well, if you actually become thirsty, you push your body that, you know, if you work all day, when you sit down, you can actually really enjoy to sit down. But if you just sit down all the time, you really can't enjoy to sit down, right? And in the same way, you know, whatever, fill in the blank, if all you're doing is chewing tobacco and drinking beer all day, it's not the same. It's like I think there's also, it's like a dark night of the soul kind of thing, where you have the ability to say, no, I don't need any of this shit. And it's hard to do that. And but once you do that, when you have that discipline, then you can enjoy those things better.
Definitely.
But definitely check out that movie. It's awesome, man.
Will do. I definitely will. But
what do you think? Good place to stop there. And
you know, I think we got some good vibes out there. I think we're golden, bro. I think for a first round, and then, you know, week or two, you know, meet back up, because there's a lot going on in the world. Who knows? The world vibrations might be different from now. You know, we could be going straight up, or we might peter down, and we're gonna have to
I'm ready
build
for
each
it,
other
man.
back up, man. Let's do it.
When it starts petering down, it's more necessity for higher vibes. And when it starts petering up, all right, take a breather. You know, we're all in this together.
We are.
And if anybody wants to join this conversation, you know, we can have a bunch of people on here, 3-4 people. So if you enjoy me and Jim's conversation, feel free to join us. The more the merrier. I'm more than happy to have you on again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do this again. I'd love to get more in here just to sit down and have a conversation, you know, intellectual, spiritual, you know, all that stuff. Let's, again, like Charlie says, like you've been saying, like, you know, we're all a piece of the puzzle. And once we all get together, like he says, put them together, we got clarity.
Yeah, 100%.
It's all about the journey, man. It's all about that journey. And I'll tell you what, it's been one hell of a journey. It's a lot of ups and downs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Some who have better insight, more intel than we do, they're calmer. Others like you and I, you know, we're just seeing little bits and pieces here. And it's like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? You know, is it world's going to crap? Oh, wait, no. It's coming back up. Oh, crap. You know, no, it's
we're all getting dragged all over the place by the information we're receiving. And we're missing the most important, which is in ourselves, that we are actually a transmitter of energy.
We are. And if we can just keep those high vibes up, man, again, we're going to affect one person with this video. We are. I don't care what anybody says.
Viktor Frankl, he has a book called Man's Search for Meaning. I believe it's Viktor Frankl. And he basically was someone who was in a concentration camp, and he found freedom in that. And that's the ultimate, right? I mean, I think the biggest fear is of death. And maybe the next one of that is to be tortured, right? That's probably at the core that's the worst part of humanity, right? To hurt and to just hurt other people unconsciously. It is the worst aspect. But he writes a book that basically he found freedom in a concentration camp. So I'm not saying that that's an easy thing and that's how, well, we should just all find freedom from his book. But what I'm saying is that it's the perspective of how you see things, you know, and that's what it's all about. And to have high vibes in that kind of situation, if someone like him can do that, we can have high vibes in a situation where we're not in that situation, where we're in a state of, we can either be in a state of wantingness or in a state of contentment. And the fact that we have each other right now to talk to, the fact that we have family, we have friends, we still have food on our table. When we appreciate those things, we actually get more of them.
Yep. We do.
All right, brother. It's a pleasure talking to you.
You too,
we'll
buddy.
Do this again, man.
Heck yeah.